SCP-4716 The Plutovore's Cookbook. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4716 and SCP-4716-B are to be stored separately in standard document safes in Site-43's climate-controlled library. Access to SCP-4716-B is limited to a monthly basis for purposes of documentation. Under Ethics Committee Resolution 4716-3, no further testing is to be conducted using the recipes within SCP-4716 due to the possible damage on personal and global scales. Gerard Hopworth is considered a person of interest related to SCP-4716. Their current area of operation is unknown, suspected to be in the northern United Kingdom. It is highly likely that Hopworth is in possession of a third, uncontained volume of SCP-4716. As such, containment of this volume and containment or termination of Hopworth himself is a Level 3 priority. Description: SCP-4716 refers to a manuscript containing several thaumaturgical rituals styled after culinary recipes. Entitled The Plutovore's Cookbook, the rituals in SCP-4716 all have the same intent: the creation of an edible effigy, which is to be consumed in an act of symbolic cannibalism in order to enact misfortune upon its target. The recipes within SCP-4716 have three key consistent components: actual foodstuffs, including fresh fruit, vegetables, dairy products, etc. In some cases, pre-made food, such as frozen breakfast sandwiches or cheeseburgers bought from fast food establishments, are called for. A sympathetic link to the target of the ritual. In most cases, this calls for a sample of the target's DNA, such as hair, saliva, or blood. However, items such as documents composed by the target or items made in their image, including photographs, portraits, and action figures, are sometimes called for, primarily due to the difficulty of getting a physical link. An item related to the manner of harm which is to be inflicted upon the target. The severity of the harm effect varies depending on how much food was created and consumed in the course of this ritual. If performed correctly, the result of one of these rituals is edible, with no long-term effects on health. However, this does not account for the taste or texture of normally non-edible implements. The recipes and rituals detailed are similar in format and function to known neo-Sarkic rituals involving symbolic cannibalism. However, SCP-4716 is notable in two aspects. Firstly, the number of pages within it far exceeds the capacity of its bindings. New pages are created upon contact with items used in the cooking or consumption of food, such as hot sauce, tomato juice, mustard, vinegar, fryer oil, and salad dressing. Out of all tested substances, liquid derivatives of meat products appear to generate the most new material. Secondly, the rituals within SCP-4716 are made specifically to target individuals who have a net worth of at least 10 million USD. This parameter includes the majority of high-ranking individuals in neo-Sarkic sects around the world, some of whom have appeared in SCP-4716. It is unclear why a neo-Sarkic would create a volume that would allow members of their own cults to be adversely affected. Discovery: SCP-4716 was discovered following a string of incidents affecting political opponents of William Putzman, a state senator from Maine. 10 opposing candidates either dropped out of the race or were otherwise unable to continue campaigning for reasons ranging from sudden life-threatening illnesses to arrest on charges of embezzlement to asphyxiation. Suspicion was brought upon Putzman following the discovery that his family had ties to Adam's wake, but Foundation interference was able to cause the story to be misreported as Putzman being part of a cult of carnal pleasures. At the time, it was believed that Putzman was using an artifact similar to SCP-Redacted in order to attack his political opponents. However, Putzman himself was notorious among members of the Wake for being unskilled at flesh crafting and other Sarkic thaumaturgical practices, suggesting the involvement of a second party. Following a brief and inconclusive investigation, Putzman resigned from his seat. 3 weeks later, the police department in Augusta, Maine, found Putzman dead following reports of shots being fired at his estate. Putzman's body had desiccated to a severe degree pre-mortem, and his attempt to fire a revolver had decapitated him and torn off his left arm, resulting in near instantaneous death. SCP-4716 was discovered on the kitchen counter, next to a half-eaten sandwich made with pickled bread, peanut butter, silica gel packets, a lock of Putzman's hair, and grape jelly. SCP-4716 was originally 12 pages long. The first 10 pages had recipes corresponding to the 10 candidates that had been rendered unfit to run against Putzman, while the 11th and 12th contained recipes targeting Putzman himself. Saliva recovered from the sandwich showed DNA markers consistent with the Hopworth family. Footnote 1. A clan of Neosarchics residing in England. Has little hold in the United States, though is on good terms with Addam's Wake. Though denying any involvement, the absence of their youngest child Gerard at any and all family gatherings has been noted. Testing log. Recipe: Bobby Redacted's arachnophobic apricot cobbler. Ingredients: water, fresh apricots, brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, nutmeg, other assorted spices, a drop of Mr. Redacted's blood, a dried tarantula, Superman ice cream for the topping. Footnote 2. An amalgam of ice cream flavors, usually made up of lemon or vanilla, cherry, and blue moon ice cream. Cooking instructions. No major differences from a mundane apricot cobbler. It was stipulated that the chelicera of the tarantula be set aside as garnishes, while the rest of it was ground in a food processor and mixed with the other spices. Result: entire meal was consumed by D-Class personnel ignorant of the ingredients. Reported a crunchy but not unpleasant texture in the cobbler itself, while the ice cream was a nice change of pace from plain vanilla. 5 hours after consumption, Mr. Redacted was bitten by several black widow spiders while visiting a facility owned by his company. While a full recovery is expected, Mr. Redacted has been shown to be increasingly arachnophobic, calling for the suspension of any projects in his company that are related to spiders. Recipe: Redacted's hackneyed halibut. Ingredients: halibut purchased in Edinburgh, Scotland. Panko breadcrumbs, eggs, dill pickle, lemon, mustard, a 28 centimeter long holly branch chopped into sevenths, a copy of Malleus Maleficarium. Text stipulates reproductions okay. Preparation: the Malleus Maleficarium is to be burned on a fire in which the holly branch is used as kindling, while Latin is spoken over the burning. Following this, the ashes of the book are integrated into the breading. Recipe is enough to make 7 pieces of fried halibut. Result: 1 piece of 7 consumed by D-Class personnel before it was complained that the food tasted like printing ink and smoke. Redacted's work has since begun to be re-examined in an unfavorable light. In addition, it is possible that Redacted herself was affected by the consumption of this meal, as she has been attempting to expand upon her previous work, with the derivatives being met with much criticism. Recipe: Prince Redacted's vasectomy venison burgers. Ingredients: ground venison, salt and pepper, semen from His Royal Majesty Prince Redacted of Redacted. Footnote 3. A European royal who was, at the time, facing allegations of redacted. Several dozen condoms, shredded, 20 milliliters of an antifibrinolytic drug. Preparation: as standard venison burgers. Non-standard ingredients were integrated into the patties, and the recipe stipulated that they be served on King's Hawaiian buns with French's ketchup. Result: consumption aborted after D-Class personnel suffered an allergic reaction to the latex in the condoms. Burgers were found to be undercooked by several degrees, and proper preparation would have likely resulted in the meal being hypoallergenic. The gastronomist in charge of preparing the meal was reprimanded. Within 3 days, Prince Redacted was admitted to the hospital with acute ongoing priapism. Necrosis set in due to lack of blood flow to other extremities, necessitating the removal of their penis. Recipe: Redacted's 5-star steak. Note: this recipe appeared following an accident in Site-43's test kitchen that exposed SCP-4716 to a spilled bottle of Redacted, a brand of wine whose winery of origin is owned by the Fifthist Church. Ingredients: 0.14 kilograms of sirloin steak, a 5-legged starfish, a copy of a script from a movie in which Redacted has appeared in that has had all references to numbers that are multiples of 5 removed. Footnote 4. For the purposes of this test, Redacted was used. 5 grams of salt and pepper. 24.6 milliliter lemon juice. Preparation: starfish was powdered and used to season the steak along with the salt and pepper. The script was dissolved in cooking oil used to sear the steak, which was then finished with lemon juice. Result: entire meal consumed. Redacted suffered a broken ankle while filming an installment of the Redacted franchise, resulting in delayed production. An earthquake hit Los Angeles within an hour of the announcement that production would be delayed, resulting in major damage to a building that serves as the headquarters for Fiftism in California. At this time, the Ethics Committee has discontinued all testing using SCP-4716. Incident: 4716-29. During testing in late 2018, SCP-4716 stopped producing new recipes, despite being immersed in pig's blood for over half an hour. While the volume was removed undamaged, no new material appeared, leaving the final page count of SCP-4716 at over 4,300. A sigil of unknown purpose was discovered on the inside of the back cover. Originally, this led SCP-4716 to be reclassified as neutralized. However, 5 days after this event, a large-scale anomalous event occurred during a party at the Hopworth estate in Leeds. A transcript of notable events visible in security footage from the grounds follows. 721. Michael Hopworth, patriarch of the family, takes several guests into the main lobby of his estate and introduces them to a functioning Davite worm spear. Footnote 5. An anomalous technological apparatus that was used to subjugate the lower classes, using metallic worm-like entities that could burrow into the body and take control of the nervous system. 10 of these items are in Foundation custody. 732. Hors d'oeuvres are served. Common neosarkic foodstuffs, such as 5 squid caviar, goat eyeballs, and gilded phalanges are visible, as is an unidentified hard-boiled egg-based dish. 740. An impromptu prayer service is held. Sacramental wine is served. Electromagnetic distortion is visible around the wine, suggesting some thaumic energies are present. This is confirmed when a servant is invited to drink the wine, only to have 5 extra stomachs sprout from the torso, leading to death by severe sudden trauma. Their corpse is visible on film for the duration of the party. 803. Mrs. Isabel Langley makes her way to the corpse of the servant and removes her own stomach, replacing it with one from the corpse. Prior to this, she had eaten at least 10 of the hard-boiled egg hors d'oeuvre. 3 other individuals who consumed these items exchanged their stomachs. 8:30. All guests enter the Grand Hall for dinner. Michael Hopworth takes up the worm spear and brings it into the dining hall. Cameras within the hall show him giving a speech, and then using the spear and the worm constructs within to torment several guests. The behavior of all involved conveys amusement or joy, with one of the affected applauding after a worm construct burrows out of his skull through his eye, which is quickly replaced using the eye of another servant. 8:40. Dinner is served. The chef, who appears to be headless, brings out the main dish, a large porcupine-esque corpse with over a dozen legs, identified as a battle sow. Footnote 6. A species of boar created by protosarkics to be used in the rebellion against the Davites. The assembled guests applaud. 9 o'clock. Another prayer service begins, immediately preceding dessert. The purpose of the service appears to be preparation for a sacrifice. 9:10. A young woman is brought out, bound to a stretcher. She appears to be both unconscious and alive. A vial, presumably full of smelling salts, is brought under her nose. She awakens, struggling and screaming. Several guests begin tearing at her clothes. 9:15. The woman, now fully naked, begins to laugh as one of the guests bite off her finger. Confusion ensues as the guest who consumed the finger abruptly begins to auto-exsanguinate. The woman speaks, and looks of horror appear in the faces of all the guests. 9:17. Michael Hopworth leaps onto the table and attempts to stab the woman with the worm spear. The woman's abdominal flesh contorts around the weapon before they speak again. 9:18. Several hundred worm-based constructs appear from the bodies of all guests who had partaken of either the boar or the egg-based Plutovore, consuming the bodies. Michael Hopworth's extremities, barring his head, are consumed, with the wounds being cauterized. 9:20. The headless chef appears and removes the woman's head, revealing that the woman is a flesh construct. The head reforms in the chef's body, taking on the facial features of Gerard Hopworth. Gerard and Michael Hopworth converse for several minutes before Gerard takes up the worm spear and drives it into his father's skull, leaving the constructs to devour him. 9:25. Gerard leaves a pair of books in the dining hall before exiting. The police were notified to a series of murders through an anonymous tip some time after this. The two books recovered were a copy of Karl Marx's The Communist Manifesto, as well as a new instance of SCP-4716. Designated SCP-4716-B, the first recipe was titled Battle Sow Slaughterhouse, and used a combination of the aforementioned animal, several species of parasitic worm, iron filings, and blood from those who were assembled at the party to achieve its effect. A sigil identical to the one found in the back cover of SCP-4716 was discovered on SCP-4716-B's front. Testing has shown that fluid introduced to SCP-4716 now contributes to the creation of further pages in SCP-4716-B. Another sigil was found on the back cover, suggesting that a third volume of SCP-4716 exists. The worm spear was found embedded in a non-anomalous, incomplete replica of SCP-140, pinning open the pages detailing Grand Karcist Ion's slave rebellion against the Davites. Thank you for listening to SCP-4716, the Plutovore's Cookbook, by user deleted. If you enjoyed this SCP, please like and subscribe, and follow the link in the description to the SCP Wiki, and vote it up to support it and the SCP Wiki as a whole.